And joining us on the line right now is former governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, George Allen. You had a chance, Governor, to take a look at the debate last night. And before we get into who you're going to be supporting this round, there's an announcement to be made here. Tell me a little bit about what you thought about the GOP debate. What were the things that stuck out in your mind?
Well, good morning, Brian and Lisa. It's good to be with you all. I thought it was a good feisty debate. I think a lot of candidates did well for themselves in it. There was a lot of back and forth on between Donald Trump and Senator Cruz. I'm not a big fan of New York City, but I really thought that Donald Trump did great on that defense of New York City.
Yeah, for those who may not know, there was a moment where Ted Cruz was asked about comments that he made regarding Donald Trump and his New York values, and Donald Trump turned it around and just knocked it out of the park by referring to 9/11.
Right, and everyone remembers,
right,
how the country was unified then, and the firefighters who were rescuing people and the rubble, and that was the best of it. And the thing is about these debates, there's so many candidates up there, it's almost like a joint press conference. And so, different folks, and I thought Marco Rubio did very well when he got into making the United States more competitive with tax reform and expensing and all the tax, the blasting EPA and all the regulations coming off, and
well,
so forth.
Speaking of which,
explaining how tariffs are paid for by consumers. I thought John Kasich did well in his views on fair and open trade. So I think all the candidates had their various moments in it. And the key for voters trying to discern who to be for out of all of this is, who keeps their poise, who has the demeanor, and you try in the midst of a campaign to try to, in my view, try to motivate people for ideas and solutions and reforms to be for rather than against.
Well, in that regard, you have made a decision about whom you're going to support in this coming election cycle, and who is the person you think that has those qualities?
Well, the person Susan and I have been assessing in these regards is Marco Rubio, and I know many of these candidates. I've worked with all of them. I consider them all friends and allies and part of the team, and we're going through an intra-squad scrimmage, and there doesn't need to be bull in the ring, and I think we should follow Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment and not speak ill of fellow Republicans. But I think Marco Rubio's got the best positive, constructive agenda to get this country moving in the right direction with opportunities for all. And indeed, I think, especially in a state like Virginia, you can't win with just Republicans. You need to get a strong number of independents, and not just barely win, but get independent voters. And I think Marco can attract independents and young people towards the cause that he believes in. I think he genuinely heartfelt in his views of the importance of liberty and personal responsibility and opportunity for all. He's grown up with that. He's the embodiment of that American dream, and that's why I think Marco's our best candidate. I will support whomever our nominee is, but I think Marco's our best chance to win.
And Governor, you bring up sort of broadening coalitions, but it was actually Rubio's support for the Gang of Eight bill and trying to do that has gotten him into some hot water this election cycle. Immigration, as you know, has become a litmus test for the Republican Party. What do you think his path is there, and how much trouble is that going to get him in?
Well, I'm not one who's ever been for amnesty. I don't think you should reward illegal behavior. If you reward illegal behavior, you'll get more of it. I think Marco was trying to do something constructive and work through it, and I think what he's learned from it, I think a lot of people through the years who've been trying to solve this problem realize that people don't trust the federal government, and until the border is controlled and secured, all the rest of this no one's going to trust it. So I think Marco learned from that whole experience, and what needs to be done is secure the border for national security reasons as well as the concept of the rule of law. Once that's done, then you can look at other changes to the guest worker or temporary workers working the seafood or hospitality industry, and the ag workers and so forth. But until the border is secured, people aren't going to believe that the federal government is going to do anything to to stop the flow of illegal immigration, which is also beyond the border, is also, and people recognize this now, is the E-Verify idea of keeping track for employers to make sure that who they're hiring are in here legally, and then a good number, maybe approximately half of the people who are in the country illegally, came in on a visa and overstayed their visa. And so there needs to be better technology and tracking of those individuals who are overstaying their visa. So
let me get
that
back.
all needs to be addressed first, and I think Marco Rubio recognizes that, and he learned it the hard way.
You said early on when you had mentioned that you were going to support Rubio that you think he's a guy who can bring independence in Virginia to the voting booth, and that you can't win in Virginia without independence, and you're right about that. But a lot of people have looked at Donald Trump and have believed that he is the guy who is generating a great deal of interest among some people who claim to be independents.
Yeah, he is. You're right. I think the two or three candidates have shown an ability to get outside of just the Republican base. Donald Trump's one, Marco Rubio's another, and to some extent Ben Carson as well. I'm giving you my objective views of it. I do agree with you on Donald Trump with it. The key, though, is beyond getting those new voters, new adherents, more people joining our team, you do have to have the Republican Party united once you get through these primaries. And I think Marco Rubio is in the best position just by his demeanor, by the way he's conducted himself. He's tried to stay positive about his ideas, and I think that makes it easier once all this fuss and fire is all done. I think Marco Rubio is the best one to unite the Republicans, plus gain new adherents.
Can I ask you one other question that's
Sure.
non-political, or at least not political as far as the election cycle goes? The current governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia seems to be willing to work with the Attorney General in Fiat to do some make some movement on guns. Your thoughts about that?
Well, they're now attacking the concealed carry law. We passed that when I was governor through a Democrat-controlled legislature. And there was all these folks who were saying, "Oh, if you allow this concealed carry law, it's going to be the, shootout at the OK Corral all over Virginia." And that has not been the case. What you need to do for safety in communities is what we did 20 years ago, and that is crack down on criminals. You can incarcerate all the guns you want, but if the criminals are still lurking in a parking garage, looking to rape someone once again, you're not going to solve it. In fact, Virginia, we have the second lowest recidivist rate, we have the third lowest violent crime rate, and law-abiding citizens are allowed to protect themselves and their families.
Right.
And so that's what works. Taking away the rights of law-abiding citizens to protect themselves does not work. And you can look at the states that have such restrictions and their crime rates, and there are more victims in those states. So I'm sorry to see them taking away the natural right of self-defense of Virginians.
Well, we'll have to leave it right there. Former governor, former senator from the Commonwealth of Virginia, George Allen, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir.
Great to be with you, Brian and Lisa. You all take care and have a great weekend.
Have a great day.
Will do.